All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Health is Wealth Part 3. Okay, so pretty much, as you all know, I went to the doctor. I found out my results. I have became a doctor myself by Googling all of the symptoms and Googling everything and reading other people's testimonies. At this point, I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I got into like a very dark, depressive state. I was in a relationship with a very supportive, strong man. And I'm sure I was a lot to deal with. I was an emotional wreck, and if y'all know me, I have never really been pressed to have kids. Like, I love to look at people's kids. I love to hold them for like 5 or 6 seconds, pass them back. But to know as a woman that you may not be able to have kids is a different type of sickness. I just want you to know, like, it's a different type of feeling. And I'm just being completely honest with you. So anyway, basically, I am now 30 years old, and I'm just like, okay, I'm finding out I have all these issues. I've waited till I was 30 to find these issues out. And now I'm thinking like, shit, if I can't have kids, that is just, it's not the end of the world, but that is devastating to me, and it hit me. So now all of a sudden, this whole ill will, not really ill will, because like I said, I've always adored kids, but I just ain't never been the one that was pressed to have any. And so now that feeling was gone. I wanted kids. Like, I'm like, okay, I gotta have a baby now. I wanted a child. Like, I was like, yeah, I want to have a baby now. And I had been in a relationship with this guy for a minute, so it wasn't like, hey, how you doing on the first date? Yeah, so when do you want kids? No, it wasn't that case, but I do know it was sudden, and it was sudden for him, for me to just now channel a lot to, okay, I'm 30, it's about that time for me to try, you know what I mean? And it is what it is. I gotta have these kids. So I literally went to my OBGYN, and she was a nice lady, and I'm gonna be real, and I'm not saying this because it is a huge factor per se. My first doctor that I had for 6 years was an Indian lady. Nice lady, like I said. Thought she was my bestie. The doctor that I was referred to was actually a white lady, and she was very just matter of fact, like, why are you crying? Oh yes, your girl was in there crying before I had even said hello to the lady. I'm just sitting there like, oh, she better come in here and say whatever. So, all right, she comes in and she was like, what's wrong? Why are you crying? I'm just like, because I don't think I can have kids. And she was just like, well, I'm not going to tell you that you can't have kids. Based off of your results, based off of what I see, I'm not going to say you can't have kids. But I am going to tell you that it might be just a tad bit more difficult to track your ovulation. And it might be a little bit more difficult for you. But based off of what I see here, that doesn't mean that you can't have kids. I've seen plenty of women that have kids. Then she drops the big bloom on me, and she's like, almost 80% of African American women suffer from fibroids. And I'm just like, why is that? In my head, of course, But it just shocked me to hear her say that, because it was just like, wow, so many women are walking around here with fibroids and none of y'all told me. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that it was more so, what is in our water, or what is it in our genetics that is, having us, accumulate fibroids. But whatever. So basically, I go to her for maybe 1 or 2 visits, and I end up getting my OBGYN changed. So after I get it changed, I'm with this lady, another white lady, and I'm not even gonna lie, I actually like this lady. She was really nice, and we talked about my issues, and she referred me to something that not only would make sure that my sugar was remaining low, because if you're insulin resistant, which is basically a pre-diabetic, you want to make sure that your sugar is low. in order to really control ovulation and control your body sugar, she gave me a prescription, metformin. Now, I know there's mixed reviews about metformin, and they're not for everyone. But for me, I will say they have worked. They've kind of balanced me out. They made sure that my periods was regular, because after this, guys, I'm not even going to lie to you. Like, my periods were very irregular. Like, very irregular. And that was something that I had explained to my primary care physician, that my periods was a little irregular. And I'm not even, being just, I'm talking about a whole month, maybe not coming on, to maybe being on for a month at some points. And I'm just like, what? So I was able to regulate my cycle with metformin. And she also gave me something just to help balance out my hormones. I want to say it's spirolactin. Spell it out. I might not be saying it right. But that was something that I was taking, and it was supposed to just control hormonal imbalances, and as well as, just making sure that, I was just kind of evening out in certain places. So with that being said, she told me to take this, take that, and, you'll be good. So I'm taking my medicine. I'm doing it faithfully, okay? And I mean faithfully. So I'm thinking, all right, I got something that's going to help me regulate, help me get pregnant. So I'm just like, let's get it on. And, time is passing by, and, they say on average, ladies, usually the average couple is trying for at least a year, and that's when they usually get pregnant. If you're trying, if you find that you have issues after not being able to get pregnant over a year's time, that's usually abnormal. But it's supposed to be normal to get pregnant within a year. But I felt like that was entirely too long, because I had new crackheads that was just getting pregnant. You know what I'm saying? I knew motherfuckers having one night stands that was getting pregnant. So that timeline just did not sit right with me. But I was just like, I just gotta have patience. It's a virtue. Okay. So in that time, I'm still in a whole full-blown relationship, which at the time I was just kind of like, oh, I'm in a relationship. I'm dealing with all these health issues and these problems. I'm just like, oh. But then I'm also like, thank God I had somebody that I could, lean on and consult with. And, guys are not as complex as us. Like, they don't really know. They don't really go through the struggle, you know what I'm saying, that us women go through with our different bodily functions. So it was just so hard to kind of sometimes relate and explain, especially ladies, when it's not something that they can see, so it's just a little bit harder to explain things to men, especially if they can't see. So that was a lot. But like I said, I thank God that I had somebody strong to go through this process with. In that time, we decided that, we're going to move. So we moved into a nice place. I end up getting a new truck, and I'm just like, okay, things are happening. God, I'm getting formulated. I'm getting space for a baby. I'm ready. We moved into this house, and I can see underneath one of the bedrooms, paint, it's pink, you know what I mean? And so I'm just like, really like, okay, it's starting to hit me. Like, we've been trying, and it's been months, and it's just not happening for me. And boom, that was another depression. That was another depression spell for me. And I just kind of just was always just like, thinking about it. And I was on Google all the time, which is the devil. Stay off of Google too much. You have to filter out the Googles, okay? But for the most part, I was thinking like, God, I'm making space for another person. When is that going to happen for me? It got to the point where I'm at restaurants, I'm out to eat, and I'm looking at people with their babies, and I'm just like, I'm just getting all the baby fevers, all the baby feels. I'm looking at people with their child, and they screaming at their kids, and they spanking their kids. I'm like, oh, God, how you gonna sit? Like, you don't see that? You know what I'm saying? I would never, I'm being completely transparent with you guys, okay? I'm not judging mothers at all. I know kids are a handful, but when you can't, or when you think that you can, or when you're thinking that, you know, when it's something that you really want and you're just having a hard time getting it, you do. I'm as transparent can be. You definitely look at other situations and other people and you be like, now, they can, but I can't. Or they get this and I can't, and that's a sin. You know, of course, you know, comparison is a sin. It's not something that's healthy at all. Comparison is a sin. It's not healthy for yourself, and it's definitely not healthy for your relationship with God. So I highly don't recommend that. But I'm having my transparent moment. Don't judge me. So I literally have just kind of put myself in a situation where every month I'm literally taking my medicine, making sure everything is good, and I am buying pregnancy tests after pregnancy tests. And y'all, if y'all know me, like, sometimes I have my bougie moments. So I'm buying the expensive ones. So I know I done spent a cool G for pregnancy tests because I'm just like, okay, it's gotta be now. It gotta be now, you know. And it got even to the point where my man, like, he's just like, you know, and we're both excited and we're both, you know, and it's just every month it's just like the letdown, you know, every single cycle, you know, it's like the letdown, like Aunt Red is here, you know, and it's very, it was very depressing, you know, to constantly have to go through that month after month. But, over time, things always happen, things always develop, and you just want to make sure you stay positive. And so I had to really like understand and grasp, like, God is the one that's in control of the timing. God is the one that's in control of what needs to be here, what doesn't need to be here. Yes, you might see someone else with something, but you have no idea what they have gone through. You have no idea, you just have no idea. So it's best to never look at other people's situations and stories. It's not as healthy to look at other people's testimony, because, you know, you can't help but be like, okay, I can relate to her with this. So that means her story might just be the exact same story as mine. And that's not always true. And I'm not telling my story so that one could think that also. I'm telling my story just to let people know that God is literally the one who determines the timing. And it's just about, you know, coming to rationalization with that first. And honestly, getting a peace of mind. And just knowing that will kind of just put you at a better place. And, you know, negativity never brings out the outcome that you really want. And so I had to really just do a lot of adjusting to that. And so thank you guys for listening. Tune in to part 4.